Hi, my name is Carmen, and I am an early childhood special education teacher, a life and ADHD coach, and I'm the host of this podcast, Authentically ADHD. I created this podcast to help anyone wondering if they have ADHD, people who have been diagnosed for a while and want some more support and community. I'm here to bring you the latest research on ADHD and neurodiversities while we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of ADHD. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hey there, my friend, and welcome back to another episode of Authentically ADHD. First of all, I do want to apologize. It's raining on and off here, so you might hear the sump pump in the background. Kind of sounds like a washer, but hopefully my mic is good enough to drown that out. I am so glad to welcome you. If you're a new listener or a longtime listener, I'm super excited about our topic today because it is about using and living into the future version of you. And it's to use this to help the today version of you. I know it sounds like a really, really big meta concept, but I promise I will explain what it all means as we go. I've been using this strategy quite a bit lately, which is why I wanted to share it with you. So, are you ready? Let's get started. So, what is this meta concept of your future self, and how can you use it, to help the present you? First, let's talk about ADHD and time because this is an issue with ADHDers. In our brains, it's really now and not now. There are two times, now and not now. We have a hard time visualizing the future, which is why we have a hard time with goals, long and short term, because we have a hard time seeing the goal and the steps to the goal. And then not only that, but go down another step and prioritization of all of the steps to get to the goal. What should I do first? What should I do second? And then all of the organization and planning that goes into it, plus the time management of it all. Now, I want you to think about you a year ago, you 2 years ago. I invite you to write down or think about how much you've grown, what you've learned, how you've changed and evolved, and really, really take that in. Really remember the feelings and use that to then project yourself into the future version of you. What do I mean by this? Well, you need to, first of all, have some type of goal. However long of a term goal you want, a month, a year, 2 years. And think about what kind of a person will you be. Think about the growth that you will have had by then, the values that you hold, and then ask yourself, what would that person do? What would future Carmen do? How would she feel? What would she believe? What would she believe about the thoughts she's having? Does she let people cross her boundaries? What will I grow into? These are some great questions. I have some more in a follow along that will be available to my Patreon members only. So if you want to join the Patreon, I welcome you to do so. I have a ton of resources in there. So as you're answering these questions, use that energy, step into that version of yourself to ask yourself about your current problem, situation, or whatever it is. I often step into future me when I need to create content that people need to pay for, because my current belief is that I shouldn't be charging for products or services, but intellectually, I know that my time is expensive and future me is going to thank me. So I often say, future Carmen believes this is valuable, so she's going to charge for it. which is why some of my podcasts are going to go into a subscriber-only bank, and I have a Patreon with extra bonus content and early released episodes and free coaching. I really like using this concept in those types of ways because we usually, as ADHDers, we don't believe that our time is actually valuable. We don't believe in ourselves and our skills. Something I really love about this concept is that it can be used on a small or big scale, and you can use it with long-term goals and short-term goals. So you can use it with long-term goals, as I described above, on kind of a meta scale, or on a small scale. For example, you could say, tomorrow, Carmen, will be so much happier if I just fold this laundry or do these dishes tonight. Tomorrow, Carmen will thank me. She'll thank today me for doing it. This is usually where we want to start, is in the small scale. The reason is because we aren't trying to jump into a fantasy future, and that's what ADHDers tend to do. We imagine a future, we dream, and we make all of these fantasies, and I don't want you to get caught up in the fantasy. So starting small works because we're not trying to jump into a fantasy future. Instead, we're staying in reality. We have ADHD. We usually hate reality, and we'd much rather live in a future fantasy. This is why staying in reality with the small scale future you first is really helpful. Now, I want you to hear me. I'm not saying don't dream. I'm not saying don't fantasize. Please dream. Spending time in fantasy is not bad. It can actually be beneficial for our creativity and goal setting, but we don't want to live there, right? We unfortunately live in reality. So this is how I kind of started, and I still do use this on the small scale and on like the bigger scale. I use it on the small scale to get chores done, to get little tasks done for the next day, or to get little steps done of a bigger task. So it makes the next day me a little bit more set up, a little bit happier, and actually content. I think content is the word I'm looking for. Not happy, but content with myself. I even will say, like, thanks, past Carmen. Thanks yesterday, Carmen, for doing those dishes or folding that laundry. It really helped me out today. That will help you start. And you may feel like a crazy person talking to yourself out loud. Sometimes I feel like a crazy person too. Here's the thing. We can think that we look whatever way, but if it works for you, please do it. For me, talking out loud to myself really works. Writing out my thoughts, emotions, feelings, all the things really works. For you, it might be a voice to text. It might be to sing it out. It might be to run it out. But find the way that works for you. With this specific strategy, I have found it works to talk out loud to yourself and write stuff down. So to get into future you in terms of long-term goals, I'd invite you to start with your values. Are you currently living within your values? Do you know what you want? Do you know what your values are? Do you have an attainable goal, or are your goals attainable? Because a lot of times we as ADHDers have a hard time mapping things out, or we set unrealistically high expectations for ourselves, and or we are waiting to feel a certain way, like quote unquote happy, for instance. And I want to remind you that that's not going to happen. Stop waiting for a feeling. Future you, now you, tomorrow you, yesterday you, etc., will feel all the emotions. Emotions are not destinations. They are part of experiencing life. I'm going to say that again because I feel like it was really important. Emotions are not destinations. I feel like a lot of humans live this way, that we think that we are on a journey to happiness, but that's not what it is. Emotions are not destinations. They are part of experiencing life. Emotions are experiences to be had. They are not problems to be solved or destinations to get to. And we often get impatient with our goals because we think we are supposed to feel a certain way fast, and that's just not reality. Reality is stepping into growth, confidence, and trusting your inner self while processing and validating your emotions as you go. So, how does the future version of you feel? What does the future version of you do with those emotions? This is why this concept is so meta. It's about stepping into that future version of you and making decisions in the present. Now, how does creating and leaning into the future version of you help present you? Well, it promotes growth by okay, let's try that again. It promotes growth by repetitively doing things like laundry, dishes, and or decluttering for the close future version of you, like the tomorrow version or whatever. And when you get more practice with stepping into future you can step into those emotions. Future me feels confident and capable. And when I step into those emotions, it's way easier to make decisions that are so much more clear, that they're easier to make, and making decisions and being productive in a way that I value and that I love. This is what's going to happen for you. So, in turn, it promotes being content in your life right now and in the future. Content with your life while experiencing all of the emotions. Hey there, ADHD. I see you. And if you're looking for some more support for yourself, your children, or both, my summer one-on-one coaching program is officially open. It's a program I built last summer as a summer boot camp type thing, and it'll teach you how to work with your brain instead of fighting against it, learning how to support yourself and your family in a self-loving and self-trusting way. It'll teach you how to do this through compassion and self-awareness. If you're interested, sign up through the link in the show notes. Keep being authentic, my friend. Now, back to the show. Now, I think I know what you may be thinking because I thought the same thing when my coach introduced this concept to me. Listen to the end if you want to join Focused by none other than Kristen Carter of the I Have ADHD podcast. If you use the link that's in my show notes, you can get money off, and I save money too. It's amazing. So I thought I had to magically accept myself, my whole self, and know myself and improve my self concept overnight. But that's not what this is about. To even have a future version of yourself, you have to have already accepted the present version of you. Acceptance meaning you know your strengths and your faults, but you know who you are and you love who you are while knowing you are a human who does make mistakes, who has places to grow, who will grow, change, and evolve by building in scaffolding just like this. But also by improving just a teeny bit each day or each week makes a huge difference in the long run. When you become able to sit in that future version of you and do things from that perspective, it really improves our self-confidence, our self-worth, and generally our quality of life. This is also not something that happens overnight, I promise you. It takes a lot of time. It takes practice. And you need to be able to identify when you are masking or avoiding your emotions, because becoming your future self isn't going to feel good. And you're going to want to avoid and hide and just not feel your emotions. But I have something to tell you, and you're not going to like it again, but becoming successful in anything doesn't feel good all the time. Actually, a lot of the times it feels pretty terrible. Think about it. Even celebrities feel terrible. The amount of documentaries that have been released recently with people like Gerard, aka Juice World, Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez, and Chandler Bing from Friends, his book that came out, just to name a few. Their stories tell us how awful they felt, even at the heights of their careers. It's the same thing with success in our lives, whatever that looks like for you. Being successful involves all the emotions. Living life in a growth mindset involves feeling those emotions. It involves processing and validating your emotions. This won't work if you mask your emotions and numb out. You can't evolve that way. It just doesn't work that way. Because if there was a way to do all this without feeling all the emotions, I would have found it already. Or my coach would have found it and sold it to me already. So I invite you to write about your future self. What do they do? What have they learned? How do they think? Like I said, I do have a worksheet guide to follow along in the Patreon, so go check that out for more prompts on getting to know the future you. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you took something away from it. I'm always looking for suggestions, or, DM me if you want to be on the show and tell your story. That's all I have for now. Stay authentic, my friends, and we will talk soon. Speaking of extra supports, I just wanted to tell you all that I've updated my Patreon page to include all of the resources that I've really ever made to be held in one place. Just head to my show notes. The VIP members do get a little extra, but you can also purchase like my brand new ultimate ADHD journal and planner, which I've been using for the past year. That has worked. Nothing is priced over $10, and everything is at least 50 to 100 pages that you can download and print. You can get it binded and sent to you, or you can just read it off your screen and use notebook paper. So if you want or need any type of that kind of extra support, just head to my show notes and click the Patreon link to join. I hope to see you in there. Hey ADHDer, are you looking for more support with your brain? Do you crave community with people who understand you? You should really check out Focused, the group coaching program I am a part of that is for adults with ADHD. It's made and run by none other than Kristen Carter of the I Have ADHD podcast. I've grown so much by being in this program, using the tools, and being in the community for over a year now. If you use the link in my show notes, we both save money on this or next month's cost. So I think it's worth it. Go check it out at ihaveadhd.com/focused.